Welcome back to the Daily Bitcoin 5. 5 stories every day that matter to Bitcoin. Today on the Bitcoin 5, crypto regulatory clarity advances as bipartisan support builds. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent quotes Satoshi and COLDCARD security issue. Let's go. Before the stories, the Bitcoin price check. Current price, about $63,900. Bitcoin holds steady above $63,000, posting modest gains of less than half of 1% over 4 days and 3.1% over the past month. The most compelling metric remains the 4-year view. BTC has surged 170% from about $23,700 in July 2022, underscoring the power of long-term accumulation through volatile cycles. Bank of Japan holds rates steady after suspected currency intervention. The Bank of Japan kept interest rates unchanged at 1%, delivering a bullish outcome for risk assets including Bitcoin. The decision came 1 day after the USD-JPY pair dropped 2.5% in 6 hours, from 163.6 to 159.5, in what market observers identified as likely BOJ intervention in currency markets. The dramatic yen move prior to the rate decision suggested Japanese officials acted preemptively to prevent an even larger sell-off if the policy announcement disappointed markets. BlackRock and Coinbase continue institutional Bitcoin accumulation. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF purchased $183 million worth of Bitcoin in the latest reported buying activity, continuing the asset manager's steady accumulation pattern since launching its spot Bitcoin product. The purchase demonstrates sustained institutional demand despite Bitcoin's range-bound price action in recent weeks. Separately, Coinbase announced it acquired an additional $53 million in Bitcoin for its corporate treasury and confirmed plans to continue regular purchases. The exchange joins a growing cohort of public companies implementing Bitcoin treasury strategies, viewing Bitcoin as a superior reserve asset compared to traditional cash holdings. Strategy's Bitcoin per share increased 5%, continuing the company's track record of accretive Bitcoin accumulation. The quarterly earnings call featured Lyn Alden, Matt Hougan, Samson Mow and James Van Straten discussing the firm's trajectory. During the call, Saylor made his most ambitious declaration yet. The goal of Strategy is to be the world's largest company. He outlined a 3-part plan centered on owning the most capital, i.e. Bitcoin, issuing the strongest credit, STRC, and creating the best equity, MSTR. Story 2. Critical security flaw discovered in COLDCARD MK3 hardware wallets. COLDCARD issued an urgent security advisory warning that users who generated seed phrases on MK3 devices after firmware version 4.1 may have their funds at risk. The vulnerability affects one of Bitcoin's most popular hardware wallet models, potentially exposing thousands of users to loss. MK4 and Q models are said to not be affected by the issue. The disclosure sparked renewed debate about self-custody risks and best practices. Story 1. Crypto regulatory clarity advances as bipartisan support builds. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent highlighted progress on the Clarity Act, which passed the House over a year ago and has since accumulated thousands of hours of bipartisan negotiation. The renewed attention to crypto regulation comes as industry participants push for clear legal frameworks governing digital assets, particularly around custody, taxation, and securities classification. Saylor amplified Bessent's message, signalling alignment between corporate Bitcoin advocates and policymakers seeking workable regulatory structures. The bipartisan nature of discussions represents a significant shift from previous years when crypto policy often fell along partisan lines. The most striking element of Scott Bessent's X post was his quote of Satoshi Nakamoto, "If you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have time to try to convince you. Sorry." When the sitting United States Secretary of the Treasury is quoting Satoshi Nakamoto, another classic Satoshi quote springs to mind. It might make sense just to get some in case it catches on. That's today's Bitcoin 5. Let me know your favourite story from today in the comments below and subscribe now so tomorrow's update lands directly in your feed. I'll see you tomorrow.